Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How's life?
Life is good, but it could be better. All you need to do is to want it. What do you want to wish for?
I want to wish for a Mitch and Ed episode all about Wonder Woman.
Well, perfect timing because we're talking about Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84. Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. I believe this is the first episode of season 3, if we're doing seasons.
If we were counting, sure it is. Yeah, I just call it another time to talk to my pal Ed about fun things from pop culture.
That's right. And I look forward to it every other week. And we've got a great show for you today. Hope you've had a fantastic new year. Thanks to everyone who has joined us for our journey of pop culture ephemera over the past 8 or 9 months, I think it is. We've just reached 250 subscribers, which is wonderful. We've got some great comments on the show. How can people, stay notified, Mitch, about the show?
It's easy as falling off a log, Ed. All they have to do is hit the subscribe button that appears right below our faces right now, and you'll be notified whenever Mitch and Ed go on another excellent adventure. Plus, just hit the like button for fun and games because that helps us on the big almighty algorithm of YouTube and gets our show up there so more people just like you could watch us.
That's right. But thank you for being an early adopter. We appreciate it. Now, we're talking about Wonder Woman. Of course, Wonder Woman 84 just was released on HBO Max in the United States and in cinemas as well. That's where I got to see it. And you got to see it on HBO Max. So we thought this is a great opportunity to look back at Wonder Woman and basically find out a little bit more about her, how she's appeared on TV as well. Of course, the comic books where she originated, and of course her step to moviedom. So
everything you ever wanted to know. I was going to say everything you ever want to know about Wonder Woman in a quick little segment right on YouTube, brought to you by Mitch and Ed.
That's right. So I first came across Wonder Woman back in the 70s from the TV show, and I don't even think I had any of her comics or anything like that. I really knew her from the cartoon Super Friends and from that wonderful Lynda Carter series. But obviously she started a long time ago. In fact, she's celebrating a special anniversary this year.
That's right. 80 years ago, Wonder Woman started in comic books. She first appeared in All-Star Comics #8. She wasn't even the lead character. She was just one of many stories that were in it. And it was written by William Marston, who goes by the name Charles Marston. That's his pen name when you see it in the comics. But he was actually a psychologist, did you know, Ed? He was a renowned psychologist of his time. And he was also very instrumental in creating the lie detector device. Yes,
which makes sense when you think about Wonder Woman and one of her, signature devices that she uses.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. He was systolic, I can't think of the words for blood pressure. That was his little expertise. And that's when they put it on somebody, they can tell if they're lying because their respiration would go up and down and their heart rate would go. So that was his key thing. But he was a big believer in women's rights. And he actually, there was a theory, it's called DISC, D-I-S-C. I don't know what the acronyms off the top of my head. Maybe we can have it pop up on the bottom. But what he believed is that women, other than men, should be the leaders of the world because of their their compassion, their love for peace, not the hostility that most men seem to have, and that anger that goes along with being a world leader. So he actually liked the notion so much that he created this character of Wonder Woman, and he set it up so it would be almost like a psychological type of, I don't want to say the word propaganda, but to float the idea out there for younger readers, especially young women, that they don't have to be in subservient roles as secretaries and housewives so that they should be world leaders. They should take the stage. And that's what he came up with Wonder Woman, because at the time you had a world populated with comic book characters like Batman and Superman. So she was really the kickoff to that whole thing. And after she first appeared in All-Star, it was a very huge hit. She went right over to her own comic. And like we said, that was 80 years ago this year. And she first appeared in Sensation Comics, and then she went off to her own book in 1942. And those stories back then, why they always had a theme of, like I said, women power. Nowadays they say girl power, but back then the stories were not about beating up folks. It was always about truth, because Wonder Woman is the goddess of truth. Her origins are that she was created out of clay, and that the gods willed life into her. Her mother wanted her because she lived on an island. It was called Paradise Island back in the day. Years later would be changed to Themyscira, but back in the 40s it was called Paradise Island. And it was a whole island full of Amazon women, not people that worked for Amazon. They didn't
No, I'm
worship
sure
Jeff.
there's probably a distribution center on there now.
There probably was. No. So what the thinking was, there was a couple of theories about it, was the gods built Paradise Island as a place where the souls of the women who were actually murdered by men in real life could live forever in peace. And that's what populated Paradise Island. That were the Amazonians. So obviously there was no men on the island. So to create a new child, she made this thing out of clay, and life is put down into by the gods. It's granted there. And then lo and behold, Steve Trevor, just like in the movies, is shot down, and he lands there, and he's the first man that they've seen. And of course, he's nursed back to health, but along the way, Diana, who's going to become Wonder Woman, she falls in love with him. And the gods said, you know what? We should send a representative out into the world of men to see what's going on out there, because they live in this Paradise Island. It's protected from the outside world, but they really don't know what's going on out there. So they have a contest to see which one of them will be the most qualified, the most suitable to go out and have adventures in the real world. So her mother, Queen Hippolyta, forbids Wonder Woman Diana for entering the contest, but she wears a disguise and she enters the contest. And of course, she's the fastest runner, and she's the best archer, everything. So at the end, the mask is taken off, and she's revealed to be, her daughter. And she's like, well, you won the contest fair and square. And here, let me give you some accessories to take with you out in the world that you're going to need. So she gives her the magic lasso, which you talked about, which was the lasso of truth.
Yes.
You put it on people, they're compelled to tell the truth. And then she also is given her bracelets of like invulnerability. They would protect her from bullets. They would protect her from, you name it. I mean, if she puts them together, it creates a power and energy, which you'll see later on in the movies. She's also given boots or shoes that would create speed, so she could run fast, almost like Mercury.
Yes.
So that's part of her deal too. There's no flight involved, so she has to get an invisible airplane to fly. They haven't come up with that idea that Wonder Woman could actually fly amongst the clouds and such. So that comic book goes on for years during the war. But in the 50s, superheroes were kind of passe. Nobody was into superheroes and all that. And then there was this psychologist, ironically, who comes out there named Dr. Wortham. And he sits there and says that, comic books are bad for kids. They cause juvenile delinquency.
Yes.
And he went especially after Wonder Woman, because he said the whole idea of a island populated by women with no men is not a wholesome idea. And this is not the type of thing we want to have our youths reading, because they're going to just be, troubled by this. So he went after Wonder Woman. So they changed the story. So she now becomes more of a romance comic in the 50s, where she's always like, how am I going to get Steve to notice me? And, oh, I hope he takes me out or buys me flowers. So it really went against all of Marston's concept of this powerful woman figure. And now she becomes more of this teenage heartthrob. It's really a disservice to the character.
At that stage, he was, I think he became ill and he passed away.
Oh, he passed away. Yeah,
and he
early.
didn't have control. I know that his wife and his mistress, I think, had some sort of control over the character, but they weren't able to, shape it as they had hoped?
No. In fact, I neglected to mention he passed away in 1947. I think he was at a very young age too.
Yep.
And you're right, his wife Elizabeth, and then he had a live-in mistress with him named Olive Byrne, and that was kind of unheard of at that times because I mean, polygamy was not a popular notion back in the 40s, and here this man was outwardly living with his wife and their companion, and that was big taboo back in the day. But Marston was not about what people thought about him and what they said. He was just living his life, and he just had his ideas and his beliefs, and he went ahead with it too. And in fact, a lot of the people say that Wonder Woman stories emphasize bondage because she would be tied up or she would tie people up the lasso. None of that's actually in his writings. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that people just put onto the character to kind of create some controversy. But his books were basically very pure. And like I said, he was just trying to create a role model for people to aspire to. None of this, deep rooted, subservient sexual behavior, deviant behavior, none of that stuff. But anyway, Wonder Woman was a product of her times. And then in the 60s, which you have this whole women's lib movement starting, and you have the hippies out there and free love and the anti-war. So Wonder Woman naturally changed with the times, but they kind of did a disservice once again to the character, because now for Wonder Woman to come into the world of man, she had to renounce her powers. So she gave up all her abilities, her super speed, her ability to be a great archer and all that athletic stuff.
And her signature look as well.
Oh yeah, they changed her costume. So now Wonder Woman becomes basically like an Emma Peel type of character, where she's into karate and martial arts. And again, they didn't know what they were doing with the book, really. They just said, let's try to be hip. If that's what the kids want, let's give it to them. But it didn't really work out that well. It's kind of silly, actually, if you look at some of those issues. They're not the best. But she still stood for a character that no one else had ever seen before, because there was not a lot of strong female superheroes. At that point, Marvel didn't have any, and DC still had Batman and Superman, but yet Wonder Woman was still the only strong female superhero in the entire world. So much so that when Gloria Steinem starts Ms. Magazine, which was a magazine about feminism and women taking a bigger role in society, the first issue has who else but Wonder Woman on the cover, and that was a big deal back then. And it's still kind of cool. I mean, you could find that at comic shows, and when you go to Comic Cons, you'll see some guys that have that first issue there. I think it just celebrated its the 50th anniversary. They redid that cover or something like that. But then the 70s come along, and before Wonder Woman starts moving on to other media that we could talk about, she's still struggling in her comics. And now they have her more of as an independent character. In fact, she's, Superman and her aren't getting along well. She kind of gets rid of Steve Trevor, and, she becomes her more independent. And it's not until the 80s where they redo the character once again by artist and writer George Perez. And he comes in and revamps the character to more of a modern Wonder Woman that you're going to see in the movies, where she's more of a goddess type of character, where they really play up the whole Greek myth, and they bring in Ares, the god of war, because Diana represents the god. She's the goddess of truth. So they have a whole mythology created, and the comic books morph into more of a Clash of the Titans type of storyline, where there's all about demigods and Hades and all that stuff, as opposed to her fighting up the bank robber down the street. And then I'm going to wrap it up, and then we're going to talk about other stuff. But it's in the 90s, in the 2000s, they changed Wonder Woman again. And now they got rid of that whole concept where she was made out of clay. And now she was actually the child of Zeus, who came down in mortal form and engaged in sex with her mother. And the offspring was Wonder Woman. She's actually a demigod. She's the daughter of Zeus, the head muckety muck of all the gods. Yeah. So the stories changed. They got rid of that whole, kind of kiddish type of World War II stuff that we grew up with, that they based the TV show on and the cartoons and stuff. And now she's up there. She's dating Superman. She's going out with him. A lot of her powers are elevated. She wears those bracelets to suppress her godlike powers, because without him, she goes into like a berserker rage and she can just wipe out the world. So they actually keep her in check. So there's a whole other storyline going on with her. But again, Wonder Woman's been popular in comics, cartoons, like you mentioned. You knew her from the Super Friends in the 70s. That was done. I can't think of the actress's name, but she played her from 1972 to the 80s. I'm going to say Frieden's her last name. She was going to come to Terrificon, my Comic Con, a couple years ago, but we had a schedule conflict. And then Susan Eisenberg, who's taken over the character from all the Justice League Unlimited cartoons and all the DC direct animation. She's fantastic. She's played the new Wonder Woman. And it's just, like I said, 80 years is a long time for a character to exist in the pages of comic books and then on the small screen with the TV. But then we had the 70s show, which you're a big fan of too, because I know you just got it for a Christmas present.
I did. Kelly, my wife, got me the Blu-ray box set, and we've been watching that. Even before the TV series came out, we alluded to that there was a telemovie with Kathy Lee Crosby playing Wonder Woman. And basically that was the sort of an amalgamation of her look that we know, but really that 60s sort of,
it was more like that 60s
look. She looked totally different. She was blonde, and that did okay. And of course nothing came from that. And then a few years later in 75, that's when they launched the TV series starring Lynda Carter and
Lyle Wagner.
And I've been watching the first couple of episodes of that on Blu-ray. It looks fantastic. But be warned, it's pretty slow. Remember, it's TV. It's a TV series. It's very cheesy. It's got the comic book, meanwhile in Nazi castle in Germany sort of thing. It's all very hokey, but in a fun way. And it's, again, it shows, I think, Diana's powers of, truth, love, goodness over evil. She's her and Steve have got a good relationship in that he's now, it's quite refreshing, at that stage at the 70s to see he's the damsel in distress. He's while he's capable, it's always Wonder Woman saving him and saving the day, which is great. And there's a real positive message for that. If you want to find out more about Wonder Woman, I'll put a link up to our episode looking at DC versus Marvel of the 1970s. And we go into a lot more detail about Wonder Woman, the TV series. But it's, I believe it's all on HBO Max. It
is. I started watching them after the Wonder Woman 84 premiere. I noticed that they had the series, the complete Wonder Woman TV series from the 70s on there. And I actually never watched it. I watched the Bionic Woman. I don't know if they ran against each other at the same time or whatever, but I do remember that you had to pick something to watch, and we chose the Bionic Woman because they had $6 Million Man connection. And I didn't watch Wonder Woman, and then she was on two networks too. That's another odd thing. She started off on CBS, and then I think it moved to ABC or vice versa or whatever. And she was on ABC, then goes to CBS, I believe.
And she changed time
Decades.
zone, essentially time zones. Essentially, it was set in the 1940s, as the comic book was, and then for season 2 it went to present day 1976 and 1977 with they are kind of crazy episodes. I watched episode 3 the other day where Wonder Woman meets the Nazi Wonder Woman, I was saying is played by Susan Day George, who is the female lead in the last 2 seasons of Mission Impossible.
That's right, because it's funny too, there's also Keen Curtis, who's an actor who some people might recognize him. He was on the show Cheers for years. He played the manager of the upstairs restaurant, but he was also notable for Star Wars fans because he played Grand Moff Tarkin on the Star Wars radio adaptation. It's funny to see him because he's the baddie in this episode, and he's a bald actor, and you could definitely tell when they switched to a stunt person because they just hired a scrawnier stunt guy who's about 40 pounds lighter than him with a bald wig. And when Lynda Carter's throwing guys, she grabs Keen Curtis, but she throws the stunt man who lands in, of course, a pile of boxes. And when he lands, suddenly they cut to Keen Curtis rolling onto the ground and dusting himself off. It's like, that wasn't just you there. But
there's
honestly,
a lot of those moments. And the pilot, you know,
yeah.
you were talking about the scene in the comics where she has to win the contest to take
Yeah.
Steve Trevor. You know, that's all in the opening telemovie, which has got it's
Cloris
Hippolyta?
Leachman.
Yeah, as
No, it's
Cloris,
Leachman
who's
as
in
the
a
mother,
totally
right?
different, she's in some sort of pantomime. She's
Yeah.
crazy. You've got also the connection to you've got a lot of connections with young Frankenstein, because you've also got the main German in that. Oh my gosh, I'm
Ooh,
blanking.
Madeline Kahn?
No, not Madeline Kahn, but um is the German.
Oh, the fellow with the
with the
fake
arm, you
that
know, who
had the
does
darts
the.
in it. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. He's
I'll
the
put his
German
name
guy.
up. I've totally
Oh no,
totally
that show is full of like famous comedians that pair as
Red
Nazis, like
Buttons. You've
Henry
got Red.
Gibson,
Yes.
who was the Nazi in the Blues Brothers. He plays
Yes.
one of the Germans in there too. Yeah.
So it's got a little wry sense of humor, that show. It's a little bit of a, like in the opening credits, it's got the wink, you know, the little eye wink and the teeth wink,
twinkle.
which is really
I noticed
cool.
her costumes changed a couple times too. I don't know if they were
Yes.
trying to sell action figures, because again, real quick on the history of Wonder Woman, there was not a lot of Wonder Woman toys. There was a Mego action figure.
Yes.
They had that line of the world's greatest superheroes. I think that was the only female. Oh no, they came up with the Invisible Woman, but that was it. There was no other female characters. Then they had the Catwoman.
Yeah,
and that's
they had the Mego. They also had, I think, as the Mego pocket superhero.
they made one of those. Yeah.
I've got here that's my rebooted Mego version.
Yeah.
And of course, for the films, they brought out the Gal Gadot version, apart from the pop vinyls and things like that. But yeah, only with the recent films has there been a sort of a bit of a resurgence. And I suppose
merchandise.
I suppose, you know, she still has been you know, coffee mugs and things like that. She's always been a popular...
I know Funko had the Invisible Plane. I have that somewhere around here. They had it as a con exclusive. Oh, the little ornament there.
Yeah, this is
that's the Hallmark one. Yeah. There you go.
It's there. There she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose if we fast forward, you know, that was a beloved series, ran for 3 seasons. Lynda Carter, really, like Christopher Reeve, I think, embodied that wholesomeness and pureness of the character. She was spot on. Fast forward to present day, and I suppose we first see Wonder Woman in
Batman
versus Superman. And I know when they cast Gal Gadot, there was a lot of talk, oh, she's too scrawny or what have you. And then you see her on screen and she is Wonder Woman. I could watch Gal Gadot all day.
Well, the funnier thing is, did you ever see the failed pilot?
Oh, with Adrian
Palicki?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. She was supposed to be Wonder Woman. People might know her from the
Orville
sci-fi show.
She's in the Orville.
Yeah, she's on the Orville.
She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
She was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was on the show called Friday Night Lights when she was younger. But she was Wonder Woman. They dyed her blonde hair, you know, brunette. And I don't know. The funnier thing is, when we could talk about Wonder Woman 84, Pedro Pascal, who plays the villain Max Lord, is in that pilot.
Really?
With Adrian Palicki. Yeah. So he's got a Wonder Woman connection for a long time. So.
I don't think the pilot is available for.
Oh, you can find bootlegs, it on YouTube? Probably on YouTube. Yeah,
because now, if I remember correctly, I've got a feeling it was produced by David E. Kelly, who produced,
the guy that made Ally McBeal.
McBeal, and it was apparently, or it obviously didn't get past the pilot stage. With Man of Steel coming along, Batman versus Superman, which I actually quite like. Surprise, surprise. Zack Snyder cast Gal Gadot, who is, I suppose, maybe best known from maybe the Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that's where I saw her, yeah.
And she was fantastic in that. And many people would say that she was probably the highlight of that franchise.
Oh, she was, yeah. When she first appears and you hear that, I think it's a bass guitar, electric guitar. Yeah, that
Hans Zimmer.
Doing
that sort of vaguely Athenian, you know, Greek sort of style guitar sound. And she appeared and she was fantastic. Fast forward to 2017, they announced that they're going to be doing the movie with Patty Jenkins directing. Wonder Woman, also with Steve Trevor, Chris Pine, which is fantastic to see, you know, that connection. They had Etta Candy, who was great. You get to see her amazing origins, how she came to be. Themyscira.
Themyscira, yeah.
You know, I still agree.
I say Paradise Island all the time.
Paradise Island with
hey,
Robin
that's
Wright.
not canon. Yeah, that's what they changed it in the 80s to Themyscira. I'm like, yeah, it's Paradise Island.
Paradise Island. With all the Amazons, you get to see how they live, how they train, how they fight.
With Robin Wright is your mother.
And you know, that's a great certainly sequence when Steve Trevor. The only difference really is that they've brought it, instead of World War II, they've brought it forward to World War
One. Yeah.
Where essentially Gal Gadot is fighting Ares and his influence. And I suppose you find out, no spoilers, that you know, good, truth, and love triumphs over evil, which is fantastic.
The other villain that they brought in from the comics was that professor with the mask on her face, Professor like Poison, or
Dr.
Poison. Yeah, she was from the comics as well.
Yes,
but you just had me thinking something about the movie. Ares was the god. The whole thing of Wonder Woman is, if you notice that she doesn't, especially in the 1984 movie that we'll talk about, she doesn't really punch people. That's not a whole thing about Wonder Woman. It's not about physical violence. It's not about, let me kick this guy in the face or punch him in the face and knock him out. It's all about, not to sound hokey, but the power of love and understanding. And there's other ways to win fights.
Yes.
Without just getting a club and banging the other guy over the head and saying, you know, I'm stronger than you. That goes back to William Marston's theories and his belief in the origins of the character, where this is why women should be leaders and rulers of the world, because
of their compassion.
Their compassion. That's exactly the word I was looking for. It's not about, you know, rolling up your sleeves and grunting like the biggest alpha male gorilla and fighting stuff. And that is conveyed in the Wonder Woman film, especially at the very end of the movie, where, you know, Ares, the god of war, is throwing bombs at her and missiles, and, you know, the World War I is basically a direct, you know,
result of his
influence on the world of men. And I don't know, it was really good. We could talk about the sequel though. Then we go into Justice League.
Yes.
So we go from a brief appearance in Batman versus Superman to where she's in her standalone film, and then the Justice League movie, right?
Yep. Yes, because that was 2018, and then her character has been altered. There's a lot of, and there's a lot of discussion online about, you know, the changes to originally Zack Snyder. You know, everyone knows the story probably. You know, he had to leave for family reasons. Joss Whedon was brought in. Apparently wasn't very positive environment. There were sort of changes. Characters changed. I know Wonder Woman isn't exactly as she was in the previous film. That's all going to be addressed in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which comes out on HBO Max this year. I think it's in March.
Yeah, it's a 4 hours miniseries. I believe they're going to do it. Yeah.
I hope that we can get it at the same time, because I definitely would like to talk about that on an upcoming episode. That's for another episode though. And then of course, Wonder Woman 84 was scheduled to came out with a cracker trailer that was, you know, really set the tone for the 80s. Of course, it was going to be released earlier in the year, but obviously, with
it was actually going to be it was going to be released last year. Well, 2019. Originally, they had plans for it, but then they said, there was so much Marvel movies going on that time, and they said, let's move it to 2020. And that's what they did. Warner's moved it out to 2020 because it was filmed a while ago. I mean,
so it was ready to go, like, I think, you know, July. And then with COVID, they were going to release it in September. And then they stuck with the December 25th, 26th release date. However, controversially, for some, they were releasing it simultaneously on HBO Max, which is available in the United States. I'm not sure if it's available in Canada. but not anywhere else in the world.
No, I think it is because a friend of ours, Les and Mike,
Oh,
they
yes.
watched it. So yeah.
And but available here in cinemas. And
Mhm.
it's been on the internet, it's been the reaction to it has been quite remarkable, where people have embraced it and loved it, and others have really been have hated
Critical.
it for some
Yeah.
reason. And I, as someone who really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
I loved it. It was great fun. I mean, I was wondering if some of that reaction is due to it them watching it at home, because I was lucky in Australia. I got to see it in the movies, in a
Mhm.
packed movie with, you know, as packed as it could be, but on with Dolby Atmos on a huge
Mhm.
screen, and
Mhm.
it was fantastic. There, you know, it was just great to see on the big screen. I wonder if some of its impact is somehow minimalized on a smaller screen, where you can just pause it, or you can, you know, rewind it. I don't know, assume you can rewind it on, you know, whatever, and you know,
Yeah,
things like
you
that.
could. Yeah.
But
Well,
I really loved it, and I love the themes of truth, about I think the whole thing about, you know, what you want to wish for. I felt like
mhm,
the characters, I know one complaint has been that, oh, there's not enough action, but
mhm.
I think I that didn't bother me at all. I felt like it was just a great time at the movies, where I felt like the character development was really good. I felt like the two, we'll get into it, but the two villains of the
Mhm.
piece, I felt like they were pretty well rounded, and their motivation, it made sense why. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just bad, or there was some reason for their motivations as well. And I had a great time at the movies. What did you think, Mitch?
I didn't have a great time at this show, and I saw it on the comfort of my own couch,
Yeah.
and I actually looked forward to it all day. I woke up in the morning because it was a Friday here for Christmas Day. There was no more Mandalorian, and I
Yes.
had to get my Pedro Pascal fix in, and I said, "Hey, I could watch Wonder Woman 1984 or Wonder Woman 84, I believe."
Yeah.
And what happened is, we opened the presents, and the kids wanted to watch. My two sons are home from college. Well, they watched the basketball game, the Nets, go Brooklyn, and then we waited to watch it like 8 o'clock at night. We had popcorn ready. It was a big premiere, and we sat down. And I'm sorry, they do a flashback to young Diana
Yep.
on the island, and that's great. I like
Yep.
that scene where she learns about don't cheat to get your results, because she does a little sneaky maneuver to win this
Yes.
competition they're having with these other Amazonians. Uh, Jeff Boyd was his name?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos people. So there's that, and then she learns the hard lesson. Well, a hero stays true and doesn't cheat to get the results. So
Yes.
that's the little
And
theme
that sets up the theme for the whole
that sets
movie.
up for the whole movie. But then we go into the 80s, and I'm like, okay, I'm good with it so far. There's a fight scene in a mall,
Yeah.
because when you think of the 80s, you think of mall. So we're in the right time frame.
Trivia.
And there's a
Trivia.
lot of
I was going to say that mall is the same mall from
from Stranger
Stranger
Things.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Somebody pointed that out. But the thing of it is, they have all the same signs and all the 80s, tropes, if you will, the aerobics with the
Yeah.
women looking like Olivia Newton-John from Let's Get Physical, and the funky clothes and
Yeah.
Miami Vice. Like, we're fine. I'm on for the ride. The fight starts, and I suddenly thought I was watching Superman 3,
I knew
because
you were
there's
going to
that
say that.
that awkward beginning directed by Richard Lester. Superman 3 has Richard Dreyfuss, Richard Pryor as Gus Gorman, who's the somewhat clumsy villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Robert Vaughn's the ultimate baddie. But the thing of it is, when she gets these wannabe jewel thief bank robbers or whatever, and she stops the crime, Wonder Woman shows up. Here's where we start to run into problems. We learn in Batman versus Superman, which is set 20, 30 years later, that no one knows who Wonder Woman is. In fact, that's like a mystery that Lex Luthor tries to find out, and Bruce Wayne tries to discover where she's been. She's attacking people in broad daylight, but she takes her tiara off, which is a good callback to the comics. She can throw it as like a pseudo boomerang, and
Yes,
she
which
knocks
she
out the
does in the
security
TV
cameras.
series as well. So,
Okay,
yes.
so that's kind of cool. We're staying good. But I'm like, you're still in broad daylight. It's not like Batman, who's in the shadows of the night where people don't see him. Everybody can see her. So I don't understand why. I know there's no cell phone cameras yet, but still people got good memories.
Look,
They can say, hey, I just saw this lady in a bathing suit beating people up. We'll let that go.
no, it
But if
could
you
look.
went-
You can cover that up. I really enjoyed that sequence because it was. It did remind me a bit. I thought it was better than the Superman 3 because Superman really didn't, apart from getting the guy out of the car when it hit the
when it's
water
filled with water,
she was instrumental in doing all those things. And you'll find out that also she didn't she does, it sets up the the heist where they get the dream
well, they get the wishing stone
and all that. But I like how you don't sort of see her either. You just see flashes of her, which I assume people in the mall just sort of see flashes of her. And she does the shh, thing to the
little girl.
I really enjoyed all that. And she
it's
doesn't kill anyone either.
No, when she throws the guy through that like drum thing, and he kind of like Virginia's made for lovers, that was the slogan back in the 80s, and he kind of like whoa, and he's like rotating around. It's that slapsticky cartoony humor. And again, somebody says, hey, look, stop being so cynical. This isn't made for you, 54-year-old man. This is made for children. Go back to a time when you were 10 years old and you watched Superman 2. I'm sure your father rolled his eyes when he saw Superman throwing people through the Marlboro.
What about Zod throwing Zod like that into
that dummy, and he goes through the Coca-Cola sign?
Yeah.
That was total schlock. But when you were a kid, it was awesome. Okay, so I'm thinking I gotta stop viewing everything.
Coming over to my side.
No, I gotta stop viewing everything as an angry old man. And I think everybody does too. Internet, or if you're listening to me, shut the hell up and let it go, because you're old and the rest of the world isn't. That's the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. You could stop growing, and I think most of you have, because I've seen you. It's time to move. But anyway, the problem I have with the story is the villain, Max Lord, is not really villainous at all, because all he does is he's just kind of a goofy person that gets what he wants because he wishes for it, but he doesn't think of the consequences, ramifications. That was the better theme of the movie, was be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And that just escalates to where at the end of the movie, now we're in Superman 4, there's nuclear missiles flying and Wonder Woman's our only hope. And that's what kills me, is I just wish it never happened. That reminds me of like Bobby Ewing waking up in the shower, or his wife woke up in the shower, in the whole season of Dallas, which is a show people don't know what I'm talking about, but there was a TV show in the 80s where they had all these things happen, and the writers figured, well, we can't figure a good way out of it, so we'll just say the whole last season was a dream. Which I get it. It's all make-believe. All this stuff, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, none of it's real. The Avengers, it's fantasy. So if you're going to have a magic rock to make the things happen, that's fine. It's not real, okay? It's a fantasy. But you have to stay true to that premise, and that's what drives me nuts about this movie, because they're wishing for things, and like the president wants more nuclear weapons than the Russians. What kind of president would want that? Why couldn't he say, I just want world peace?
Well, remember, hold on, because remember also, that wasn't the president. That was wasn't that the evangelist who wished to be the most powerful person in the world? So
no, the end of that was the president.
So he became the president, because it would have been Ronald Reagan otherwise, because it's set in 1984.
Yeah, 1984. That was where I thought that was supposed to be Ronald Reagan.
No. That was the evangelist who wished to be the most powerful. I think that's.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Now I have to go watch it. I thought that was the President Reagan character.
That's what I thought. But
okay. Well, here's another problem.
Yeah.
She steals a jet. Well, okay. She wants Steve Trevor to come back.
Yes.
Steve Trevor comes back.
I thought that was clever how they did that. I thought
now why would you need to do that? Basically what they did is, if you're not familiar with the movie, they did a quantum leap where Steve Trevor's spirit jumps into the body of a person who's living in 84. Just Joe Blow. I don't know who he is. He's just nobody. He's a good-looking guy. It would be funnier if she jumped into a fat, dumpy 54-year-old. Hey, Hollywood, I'm right here. But that would have been more, because it'd been like, she's the most gorgeous, entity on the earth is with this guy. Whatever. So anyway, she goes with Steve Trevor, who suddenly possesses this body. They hook up again. They go back to where they left off. It bothers me that Wonder Woman hasn't moved on in 70 years since her first date for a guy she only knew for about 3 weeks, I guess. Whatever.
It was an intense 3 weeks.
It was an intense 3 weeks, yeah. So now they steal a jet. This is where it starts.
At the Smithsonian, yep.
At the Smithsonian. Look, I do comic book conventions. I know you can only keep a quarter of a tank of gasoline in any vehicle inside a building. The Batmobile, the kit car, whatever cars you have, helicopters. You're not going to have a jet. Okay, it was outside. Jets are one-seater. Very few are two-seaters. But anyway, there's 2 seats. She jumps in the back. They take off. Here's a World War I pilot who suddenly knows how to fly a modern jet. It's magic. Sure, we'll go along with that. Now there's enough fuel in that jet to take it from Washington, D.C. to Cairo, and back. But here's where I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Wonder Woman suddenly can use the power of the Force to turn the jet invisible. So it's a callback to the Invisible Jet, which is a nice little nod to the comics and the TV show. Maybe because it's invisible, it uses less jet fuel. So that's how they managed to get back and forth and whatever. So she lands in Egypt. They have this truck chase, very similar to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, which I thought was great. Yeah.
Fine. Action sequences. Steve Trevor, I guess they have cars that are the same back in the 1919 or whatever. He's driving it. We're good. He knows how to drive a modern truck. He also knows how to fire a rocket launcher, which they didn't have back in World War I.
He also knows how to use a telephone directory to look her up, but telephone directories weren't invented.
They didn't have telephone directory. And
the other thing is, he's a quick study.
He's mystified by a subway train. They had trains back in 1918.
But
he
rode
one of the
not that
trains.
Spectacular.
Oh, please. I've been on the metro in Washington, D.C.
I've got to say, Kelly and I, that was our station where we would go, and it's beautiful. It's futuristic.
It's Logan's Run.
What it'd be like to him.
Okay, whatever. The escalator, they had escalators back in the 1918s too. That's another story.
Yeah.
But anyway, she goes there. They got the worst stunt dummies to play these kids that decide to go play ball in the middle of the highway in downtown Egypt. So she has to save them. If you watch that movie, she does a tuck and roll when she grabs these kids and saves them. Those kids' heads hit that damn street. They would have been dead from the blow to the skulls. But we're going to let it go because it's magic. But anyway, now let's talk about the cheetah, who's the other villain of the movie. Why is she the villain of the movie? She almost gets mugged or raped by this big fat jerk in the middle of the park, and she's saved by Wonder Woman. Then when she gets the powers because she wants to be more like Diana, aka Wonder Woman, so she starts to get more physical prowess and stronger and all that, and she wants to
become an apex predator. That's what
an apex predator. Lucky she didn't become a giant bird or a falcon or something. So now she bumps into, coincidentally, the same obnoxious jerk who tried to jump her before, and she beats the hell out of him. Okay, she puts this guy in a hospital. That's not a bad thing. I mean, if anybody tried to do that to me or my friends, I'd want to kick that guy's butt too. So that's not being a villain. When she shows up at the White House, why is she, well, first of all, how she knows to go to the White House, I don't know, because Max Lord is there. I don't know how everyone seems to be. It's a movie. We're just going to pure coincidence. They're all there at the same time. Forget security. Forget the fact that Steve Trevor looks like this other guy who's on camera. I'm sure the White House has cameras. When this guy gets his own body back, he's going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble for stealing a jet, breaking into the White House, and being part of an accomplice with Wonder Woman, unless that got erased.
He'll just cover himself with that funky scarf that he wears around.
Yeah. So anyway, what is going on with her? I don't
But
understand
is she
why.
even a? I don't even think of her as the main villain. She's obviously just she gets her wish to be, noticed. To be there's three stages of her. There's her where she's ignored, the nerd and everything like
Yeah,
that. When she becomes popular and the life of
yeah.
the party, and then when she just goes over the line and becomes that apex predator, and she enjoys that feeling and doesn't want it to she doesn't want to let it go. And that's why I think she becomes, she doesn't, that's why she's at the White House, because she doesn't want Max Lord. She knows that Max Lord is the reason that she's got this wish. And I think Diana says to her that if he needs to be stopped, and if he's stopped, all the wishes will stop, but the world will become, you have to renounce your wish, and she can't do that. So that's why.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Gets on the helicopter with them. They fly off because now he knows that there's a secret base where the president has satellite technology that could broadcast his word around the world. And Max Lord, again, a character based in the comic books, who has this ability in the comic books to influence people. He kind of uses like the Force.
Yeah.
And he's actually killed by Wonder Woman in the comics. She twists his neck and kills him, just like Superman kills Zod.
Zod.
Yeah, no, that's how Max Lord dies. Spoiler alert. It was really harsh. So anyway, they go off to this underground bunker. Here's what's killing me. They do a flashback to Athesia, which was this goddess that's going to be played by Lynda Carter, wink, wink, in a cameo later on. She was this Amazon that went out into the world of men, and she wore this golden armor that had wings on it. She looked like our friend Brian Blessed from Flash Gordon, which was on a previous mention.
But much more attractive.
Much more attractive. Yeah. So anyway, she's got this golden armor that protected her from the outside forces that conveniently Wonder Woman has in her broom closet in her house. She just somehow brought it with her. Again, the fact that Wonder Woman has a job in modern times and no one notices that she's not aging like Highlander.
Well, but she probably moves on from job to job. Because Batman versus Superman, she's at the start of Wonder Woman, isn't it? At the start of Wonder Woman, where
she works in the museum,
she's working at the Louvre. So she's working in Paris. This time she's working in Washington. So she moves around, and
she's like the David Banner of the DC world. Yes. She just takes her backpack and walks out and gets a new job.
With that music going in
with the same initials every week. DP.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now they're all together at the end, and this is what drives me nuts. That super armor, you might as well have been wearing tissue paper, because it's wiped out by the cheetah, who physically is now
more powerful than Wonder Woman, I think, because
look at you. Okay, screen. Is that why it got torn to shreds? Because I'm like, what happened with that?
I believe so, because I think her power was getting exponentially stronger and stronger and stronger.
Not too much that she can't be fried by electricity in a pool.
Worked in Jaws too.
But nothing happened to Diana. But anyway, they go out. Oh, I forgot to give up the fact that Steve just told Diana to renounce her wish, and he faded away behind a pillar.
Because she realized that again, the truth, she's following her mantra. It took her a strong, because her powers were getting less and less as well as we're going, and she realized this is the only way, and the only way to stop Max Lord is for everyone to renounce their wishes. And that's what she's trying to convince Barbara to do, Kristen Wiig, who I think is really good as I thought she was a great actress. So that's what she's trying to do. So okay, go on.
So we're back at we're at the end now.
Yeah.
And everything, there's again
no spoilers, by the way, in case you haven't.
Oh yeah, if you've watched this, you've already figured it out. We spoiled this whole movie. So they're at the end now, and he wants power. The thing is, Max Lord has this annoying little kid, Alistair, who just keeps showing up throughout the movie.
That's who.
That's the guy. That's who's texting me. Alistair, who just shows up. Where's this kid's mom? Nobody's watching this kid. He just kind of shows up like in the dad's office, and then he's over here and he's over there. Somehow he gets around. And the nuclear weapons are being launched. This is it. This is the end. This is the day after come to
The
life.
day
This is
before, the day
nuclear
after, yes.
Armageddon. 1984. This was a reality. This was really a threat back in the 80s.
It was.
Not that they've gone away, but back then we were worried every day that the Russians were going to nuke the U.S. and vice versa. It was really bad. It was really, growing up at that time, I can tell you, it was kind of scary that any minute the world could end in nuclear destruction.
I remember that the day after the TV series in 1983,
the day after, yeah, the TV
with Jason Robards. That
Jason
scared
Robards,
the
yes.
heck out of me.
Jason Robards used to scare the heck out of me when he lived down the street from us and would burn his.
Everyone lives down the street from you.
He did. He lived when we lived in Southport. He lived over there as well. And every week there'd be a notice in the newspaper like fire at the Rhodes house, because he would smoke, but he would smoke outside, and he'd throw his cigarette in the garbage can and it would catch the garbage can on fire. So the Fairfield Fire Department would have to go to Jason Robards' house to die fires out.
He was very good in Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is
he was very good in that submarine movie with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. But we digress.
Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide, not to be confused with Hunt for Red October with The Shadow and Sean Connery. Whatever.
That's right.
All she does to get Max Lord to save everything, and this is what drove me nuts, he just wished it away. And then we show Max Lord. The reason why Max Lord wanted to be somebody and something big is we go through his history. We go through a flashback. He had an abusive father who never lays a hand on him, but it was more psychological. Yes. I think they didn't want to get into any physical abuse thing. And the dad's yelling at him for wetting his bed, which I'm like, hey, man, really? That's what's going to set you on this path? Anyway.
I think there was a lot more with that.
There was a lot more going on.
Yeah, I feel like there was. But she not only gets him to renounce using the lasso of truth, she speaks through him while he's speaking to everyone to renounce their wishes. And it shows what I like. It shows that, you know, people are inherently good and that they will, you know, for the betterment of society, they will do the right thing when push comes to shove. So I thought that was good. They all renounced their wishes, and then he renounced his wish to save his son. And then, and you'll notice throughout the entire movie, I think we spoke about that. Yeah, no one gets killed because they're all under the influence, you know, of these wishes, and it's not really them wanting to do that. And again, it's counterintuitive to Wonder Woman's character. I think is really good. So I bought all that. I thought that what a fantastic message, especially at this time where we all need to band together. And
I'm not done complaining yet.
Oh yeah. This was supposed to be a 30-minute show, Mitch.
Oh, I know, we're almost done. 2 minutes. At the very end, I think they tacked on that Christmas scene. Like they filmed that like about 3 weeks ago because they knew they're going to release this at Christmas time. I don't think that was part of the original shooting script. So at the end, Diana's walking through DC where she lives, Georgetown, and down there, Virginia. And she bumps into the guy who's Steve Trevor's possessed body.
Yes.
And he kind of looks at her because she's gorgeous, she's attractive.
Yeah, of course.
And he's, hello, how are you? Wink, wink. You want to go out for coffee? No, that's okay. Okay. It bothers me that Steve Trevor basically took over that guy's body and they had relations, and she kind of ignores him kind of in a weird, sick way. I'm like, what's going on? Did you slip him a roofie or something?
I don't think he remembers the experience.
No, he doesn't remember.
Because
but
you would.
You would think. So then why doesn't she go and take the guy out for a cup of coffee? Because as Steve left, he says, go on with your life. He's told her that before, and now he told her again. He's like, come on, Diana, go on. You don't need me anymore.
Again, you know what? You don't want to have everything spoon-fed to you or
I
laid
do
out.
want it spoon-fed, yes.
You know, maybe they did. You never know.
Maybe they did later. Okay,
maybe they did. And you know what? Kelly said this to me, you know, if only I knew, I would have put this on my top alternative Christmas movies, because this is now a Christmas movie.
Well, because it was in the 4th of July in the beginning, because they were flying through fireworks as they were getting to Cairo. I'm like, we went from 6 months. So I guess, okay. And the last thing, my last point of criticism with this movie is, I lived in the 80s. I was born in 66. I was buying music. Okay, 1984 was MTV, was Bruce Springsteen, was Prince, was Michael Jackson. Okay, forget all those guys. Why didn't we have all the female-led bands? on that soundtrack. I thought Patti Smythe from Scandal would
Oh
be
yeah,
on there singing
I'm
I
the
Am the
Warrior.
Warrior, which would have been perfect for this movie. You know, you had Pat Benatar, you had the Go-Go's,
Cindy Lauper.
you had with the Motels, Martha Ravies and the Motels, Davies. There were so many female-led bands. I
One
was
thing
like,
I've got
wow,
to
this
say,
is
they didn't
huge.
use a lot of they didn't use a lot of 80s music tropes.
One song I heard. There was a bit of a Frankie Goes to Hollywood
Frankie Goes
riff
to Hollywood.
when
There
she
was
got out of the limo.
yeah,
Yeah,
which was I
that's
think
it.
Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. They had Duran Duran somewhere in there,
Where
incidental
I,
music, and they had Gary Newman as well.
they in the trailer they played an 80s
That was
song,
Depeche
the
Mode.
Blue, yeah, something. So I thought this was going to be the whole soundtrack was going to be 80s music's wall to wall.
Speaking of the
No,
soundtrack, Hans Zimmer came back. I've got to say, I love that soundtrack. The opening sequence with in Paradise Island, the
the
Mascara,
Mascara.
that the percussion and everything like that was
Yeah,
fantastic. And some of the music, especially during the truck sequence in Egypt, it didn't sound nowhere near reach the heights of John Williams, but there were elements of it that I thought, okay, I like those tonal nods to it, which was really good. So
anyway, summing up, look, the actors are great. I like Pedro Pascal. I
yeah,
like
he's
Kristen
good.
Wiig. Of course, I love Gal Gadot. I think she's fantastic. They can't find a better Wonder Woman actress out there. But I just thought the movie, it was too long. It was 2.5 hours. Should have been at least 2 hours. They could have cut about a half hour, would have sped it up and made it better. I also think because it was on HBO Max and home viewing,
Yeah.
that a lot of deleted scenes that might have got cut if it was just a theatrical release, I think they threw those in there. I think that's what kind of breaks this movie up. They threw a lot of cutting room floor scenes and figured, oh, we're going to be on HBO. We're going to be, let's get people to subscribe to
Okay.
it. Throw it all in there. I wouldn't be surprised when this comes on DVD. There's maybe a theatrical cut, or maybe there's an extended cut.
Well, the one that I saw at the cinema was 2 hours and
how long?
it was long, but I was not
This was
bored.
2 hours and 32 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I say, I wonder if, people are, again, seeing something in the home as opposed to being in a cinema with a,
Well, it does take a little bit out of you because you could stop at any minute, go and get something to eat, go to the bathroom, walk around, and oh, I'm going to bed now. I'll watch this tomorrow. There's a big difference between going to a theater and sitting there with other people and popcorn and, you're awake, you paid the money. Yeah, I mean, it's an event. Sitting at home watching television is not an event.
So we're going hopefully next week to see it in IMAX.
Okay.
Which will be great. Again, another, because a lot of it was filmed in IMAX. So I gave it a thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was as good as the original, the first one, but I had a thoroughly entertaining time. And I was so pleased to see that they're fast tracking Wonder Woman 3 with Patty Jenkins directing and Gal Gadot.
Well, is she directing it? Because doesn't she have to go do that Rogue Squadron movie?
Yeah, she does, but there's still going to be she's still going to be directing this one as well, which is great. And that's going to be, all reports, set in present day. So
I was going to say, I hope they don't do another flashback thing. You know what? I wouldn't mind if they set it in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there was just as much internal strife going on between the Russians and the US.
And that's true.
And I like shortage.
Yeah. I did like at the very end scene. So I liked how they sort of did the credits as well, like a TV show. I thought was quite good. The TV credits.
Well, you see, that doesn't happen on the small screen because what happens is they convert the little credits box small to coming up next.
Well, everyone sat through.
I didn't see that.
And then, of course, when they had Lynda Carter come back, because you think that is actually Wonder Woman,
Gal Gadot, but it's not.
And it's not, and it's Lynda Carter and going, I've been doing this for a long time. I thought was a really good, a really nice nod. So I would recommend that if you're never listen to the critics. Don't listen to us.
Don't listen to us.
Watch us.
Who am I?
Watch us. You can put us on mute. I don't care. We just need the view.
I know.
But
it's a bunch of two jerks talking because we're stuck in a basement.
That's right. So all you need to do is go out, watch it. If you've got HBO Max, there are certainly a lot. This is not a ringing endorsement. This is not sounding like a ringing endorsement. You know, there are a lot worse things you could be doing, but I think you will be entertained, and you'll enjoy it. And if you don't like it, hey, but
watch Wonder Woman. Watch Wonder Woman, the first one, because that's on HBO Max too, right? If you're here, you can click a button and watch the TV show. I have all the seasons on HBO Max right now. So
there you go. And if you're in other parts of the world and you're able to go see it in the cinema, do so, because that's really where I think it's designed to be. It sounds fantastic. It looks fantastic.
Read a comic book with Wonder Woman. She's got 80 years of comics.
That's right. There's a lot to do. So that's our look back at Wonder Woman in a bit of a nutshell, and of course her cinematic adventures. I'm sure we'll be back when we talk about Wonder Woman 3, when that's eventually coming out, and we'll be looking at a lot more DC movies as well. Don't forget, we've got plenty of episodes, at least 26 episodes.
That's crazy.
I know. So feel free to look back at our back catalog, and hopefully you'll find something. Don't forget also to comment. We've had lots of great comments. Someone commented saying, and I can't believe I forgot, that a Christmas movie is Shazam. So the recent Shazam.
Oh yeah, the whole movie's at Christmas time. Yeah. Oh,
I know. Geez. So thank you to our viewers for I know it's one of my favorite movies too.
And I saw it with the guy that worked on the Jerry Ordway.
Yes.
Lives, and he didn't even, we were talking about Christmas, but he didn't even think of it. So
there you go. I don't feel so bad now. So don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, hit that bell as well, and you'll be notified. But that's it. Welcome to 2021. We've got a lot of great shows coming up as well. Mitch, it's going to be a fun year ahead, I think.
You say so, Ed. I'll take it, as long as it's not like Wonder Woman 84. I wish for better stories.
All right. So signing off, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And thanks for watching Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure.